welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen. With me today are Louis D'Souza and Anne-Marie Young. This is your Daily Dose of Happy. We are so happy you decided to join us today.
We have a rare day today because we don't have a guest on the show today, so we get to do it the old-fashioned way with just me and co-hosts and having a good time talking about stuff. And so we're going to start off by welcoming Louis back, who has been basking in the mountains of Austria and just telling me that he had the best vacation ever. It really was the best one ever, right?
Yeah, it was brilliant. Absolutely amazing.
That's fabulous. Glad you had that. I'm glad your family had that. And Marie's telling me she's going to be going away on holiday for a couple weeks, so I'm sure you're looking forward to that one.
Yeah, I am so excited. Just getting some time off and some time with the kids and family, and yeah. Very excited.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, I have to admit, we had a little getaway in June, but I'm looking forward to at least doing some beaching. I haven't been to the beach yet. Louise has been a few times, but I haven't been able to go the last few times that she's gone. So I'm looking forward to the next time that she's going because I'm going with her.
We're off to the beach tomorrow, so I'm excited.
Are you? Okay. Yeah. So
in the new car. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Have you got the new car, Louis?
Yeah, I just arrived today. It's so exciting.
Awesome. How is it?
Oh, it's amazing. I really, really love it already. It's got all the little gadgets I love. So I was saying to Walt, I mean, I've been pouring through the manual. I almost know every nook and cranny of the car already.
You just got it home.
Yeah, I just got it home.
You don't waste any
pouring
time.
over the manual. It's quite time consuming, that manual, I must admit.
Okay.
But there's little bits and pieces that are actually quite important. Like you actually still have to drive the car in. I didn't know that anymore. I thought they were all driven in already before you got them. But 600 miles, you have to take it a little more gently, and vary speed and other things like that, which I had no idea of.
Well, it does have a conventional engine in addition to the hybrid batteries, so it makes sense. I mean, that's always been true.
It's not just electric,
engine. Yeah. Right. But yeah, that's great. And I'm glad you're excited about it as usual. I have to admit that I'm not surprised. I was a little surprised that you would ever want to leave the Jag behind, but you did. And you did enthusiastically.
Yeah. No, I'm not attached to physical things very much. I'll drop anything at a drop of a hat, and I just really, you just focus on what you want and you go and things get left behind. That's the way it is. I'm not sad the Jag left. It's diesel. It was very, very, very heavy car, big car. This one, it's mostly made out of plastic and recycled material and vegan leather, and it's like, oh dear, it's really interesting. It's really very, very different. It fits who I am now rather than who I was, so as you change, the cars and everything else around you changes as well. It's just the way it goes.
This is true. This is very true. I've been doing a little changing myself lately in a number of different ways. I don't know if I told you guys, but you remember when we had Greg the Hydrogen Man on?
Yeah, you bought the hydrogen machine.
I bought the hydrogen machine, and I've been drinking hydrogenated water or hydrogen-rich water. I'm not sure what the exact correct term is for the last 10 days or so. And I can't report any results of positive or negative other than I haven't grown an extra arm or anything like that. So I know at least it's not doing something like that.
It'd be interesting when you go next to a tissue, won't it?
If you want honesty, give Walt something to say. I love it.
Actually, that came from Louise. She was the one who was waiting for me to test it before she even looked at it. She wasn't interested until, it was like, what parents sometimes say, let's test it on the kids first. If they're okay, then we'll try it. It's one of those deals.
It boils down to that mice thing again, isn't it? Those two mice are saying to each other, have you had the vaccine yet? The other one says to the other one, no, I'm going to let the humans test it first.
Yes.
But can either of you now drink first thing in the morning before brushing your teeth? Since that interview, I can't do that now.
Can we now? We've always been able to do that.
What's stopping me? I'm not with you.
Oh, because
no, I'm not with you either.
Because he was saying that when you wake up in the morning and you can have precancerous cells and you're best to brush all your mouth before you take a drink. So I was just like, oh no, I have to brush my teeth first now.
Nah.
But it's what you believe in, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes,
I mean,
very, very, very much so.
There's definite fear attached to that one, and when I heard it, I said, "Nope, not attaching to that one. No, thank you." So I didn't. It's very simple. Now I can tell you this. I mean, I've only been doing it for about 10 days, 2 weeks, something like that. Drinking this hydrogen-rich water. It's not enough time, and I don't have enough personal visual evidence to say for sure that I'm seeing better. But I feel like I'm seeing better. And the best way I can describe it is, with this condition, one of the things you kind of get used to is having trouble focusing. Your focus isn't always great. And I'm finding that, and I don't know if this is just me wanting it or if this is an actually observable fact yet. I'll have to live with this for a while. But in the short period of time, it feels like I'm focusing better more often. So, yeah. We'll see what happens. That's the initial reading.
Why haven't you got those pipes in your nose? Well,
oh, I'm just drinking it. I'm not using the cannula.
Why not?
Because
Don't you want to get great results?
Well,
you were saying that you get different benefits from the breathing and different benefits from the water.
Right. Well,
combined, they work very, very well.
I hear what he's saying. I'm trying it with just the water. Let's just see what happens with the water first. Besides
first.
I also made a mistake. I made a little mistake. When I got the packaging, I'm pretty sure I accidentally threw the packaging out and threw the cannula out with the packaging. So I'll probably have to order another one anyway.
Oh, no.
So I'll have to invest another $90.
Because I hear that's quite special. He was saying it's special material. Because the hydrogen leaks through the cannula if it's not the right
But
material.
I can order another one. I mean, compared to the cost of the machine, it's small, so I'm not going to worry about it. And I was intending to just drink it anyway. That was my test. That was going to be what I was going to do and see what kind of results I got out of that. And then perhaps try with the cannula later on. But for now, I'm just content just doing it the way I'm doing it. I also, now, you guys may not be aware of this. In May, I started a special segment called The Crypto Skeptic because I have an interest in cryptocurrency, but from a skeptic point of view. And so I've had a few guests on. My very, very first guest actually really wasn't much of a crypto person. She was a foreign exchange currency investor. Mm-hmm. And she had this program and she was getting very interesting results and so forth. And so for a very nominal fee, I think like $10, I signed up for it just to try it for a little bit, on a trial basis. You don't actually get to trade any money. You do it, fake money, all that kind of stuff. Paper trading, as they say. And so I did. And she gave me some coaching and so forth. And I tried their system and I came away from it. I actually did give a report later on, a few episodes later, that basically said it's reading tea leaves. There was nothing really rational about the whole process. It was just, I'm sure that she's getting the results that she's getting. She was able to make her living off it. I'm sure that's true. But just to give you an idea, you're supposed to, the way their system works, you're supposed to look at these charts and these little graphs and arrows and lines pointing and so forth. And one of the things they want you to do is they want a line pointing up. And so whenever I saw that line pointing up and everything else was in alignment, I would push the buy button or the sell button, depending on what the situation was. And half the time it would work out badly. And, so I asked her about it and I showed her some examples. She says, oh, it's not pointing up enough. I was like, what, how far up do you have to point before you're pointing up? It was that intangible. So I said, okay, this is nonsense. This is crazy. But it did lead me to doing a little investigating. Because I had long stayed away from any kind of investing because as somebody who's into computers, I know I don't really have a chance in the marketplace, particularly where stocks or currencies or anything like that are concerned, because I'm constantly investing against computers. You can't beat computers. You have to have a computer in order to play, at least level the playing field with a computer. So I just stayed away from most of it. And the few times I did do something, it didn't really work out well anyway, so it just kind of reinforced my experience and my belief. I heard in the course of doing this experiment that they now had software for people who had some programming background who would be willing to write their own trading program. I thought, ooh, that sounds interesting. So ever since then, I've been messing around, learning stuff. Well, I tried one particular, there's actually a couple of them out there. I tried one of them, and the software was so limiting, and the platform itself was so limiting that it wasn't even worth exploring. So I abandoned that one. I went to the second one. The second one's much more powerful, has a lot more potential to it, but there's a whole lot more you have to learn. So I've really been spending the last 2 to 3 months just learning the software. And fortunately, it's not all that different from other programming languages. For those who know anything about computer languages, it's based on C++, which is a fairly common computer language. And it's very, very similar to C++. So it wasn't hard to learn that part of it. It was the hardest part, actually, was trying to learn how the language interacts with the trading program and interacts with the way that you're getting data, because the program is trying to interact with a live series of data coming through. And that's the part that takes a while to get used to and kind of get a handle on how the whole thing works. So that's what I've been working on. But I had a couple theories in my mind about how I wanted to try things out, just, test some things out. And the few times that I was able to actually get pieces of it to work properly, I was getting interesting results, but I had too many things that were not working properly, so I couldn't really trust any of it. And I'm now on revision, I don't know how many revisions I got now, probably about 25 revisions so far. So call it version 25. And I don't have everything ironed out yet, because there's so much complexity to this thing. But I've got to the point now where I'm actually getting pretty consistent results. My latest test, I got 80% of my trades turned out to be positive, turned out in my favor. I thought, well, wow, I'm doing something right. Okay, this is good.
I'll sign up, Walt.
Yeah, well, there's a lot more to it, so I can't say that we're a long way from actually doing anything but paper trading at this point. There's still a lot of work I have to do on it. But the reason I brought all this up is I wanted to mention something that really, really rings true to me now as I'm working on this. And I'm sure it's true in all forms of investing. And we know this is true in general because of how the law of attraction works. But man, oh man, if you do anything from a position of fear, particularly in the world of investing, boy, does it come back to you as a negative result fast. Really, really fast. It's astonishing. And if you take the steps to let go of the fear, just kind of, okay, here's what I'm doing. I'm going to place my bet, so to speak, and just let it go. Then you get the better results that way. And it's really
That's very interesting, isn't it?
It is. It's really interesting because so much of what we experience in life, we have this tendency to feel like, well, it takes forever for results to show up. Not in the world of investing. It shows up sometimes in minutes. It's really quick. It's astonishing how quick it is.
So if we look at the law of attraction, well, what's happening? Let's take the subject matter gravity, for example. It's so strong a vibration that none of us walk out of our front door and float upwards in the morning.
Right.
It just doesn't happen. It's a really, really strong vibration. But these brand new pieces of data that are popping in don't have a particularly strong vibration, so they can be moved around quite quickly and easily, based on your belief structure.
Yeah.
And I've seen it. I've seen people who are very spiritual who have made a huge success and absolutely feel like they're cheating. Because, they don't really have this this worry if they succeed or don't.
Right.
This lady found out that she was particularly good because she was actually dying and she didn't care. And because she didn't care, she just made an absolute fortune. She was just saying, let's do it. And, she had no resistance to making money or losing money. It made no difference in her life, what was left of it. And, she did die eventually. She made an absolute killing of gargantuous proportions. But, it just shows that if you can get that step 3 right, and do the trading with something that doesn't have a particularly strong vibration, which hasn't accumulated over time, a lot of people thinking about it, then you've got the ability to make money just from understanding the law of attraction.
And by
even
the way,
a card game would have far stronger vibrations than trading.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and very quickly, no doubt about that. And
But
by
once
the way,
you start
I should mention
understanding
something.
LOA,
I should mention something about the foreign exchange market. I've done quite a bit of research, as you might imagine, in the last few months as I've been exploring this stuff and learning how this stuff works. And one of the things that I've learned is that 75% of all investors who invest in the foreign exchange market lose money, which is really interesting.
Wow.
Very interesting.
That's high.
It actually isn't. Believe it or not, because I was talking to one of my gardening customers is a former broker with one of the major brokerage firms. I can't think which one it was, and he was asking me. I was telling him I was writing this program, and he said, "Have you ever checked into the S&P, which is one of the major indexes here in the United States?" And I said, "No, not really." He says, "Do you know what the win-lose rate is on the S&P?" I said, "No, I know what it is for foreign exchange. It's about 75%. He says, "Yeah, it's about the same thing for the S&P. And the S&P is a relatively stable one, but 75% of all investors in the S&P lose. Isn't that interesting?
Interesting, yeah.
I mean, what I've always been tempted to do, never get around to, is play with what you're saying. It's like paper money. So you've got a program that sits over an existing stock market, and you just play it, with fake money just to see what you would do. I've always wanted to do that because I think with my law of attraction ability, I'd have a lot of fun with it, especially with not real money. It's easy to.
Exactly. And I think that is a great
really
feature. They all recommend it. All the brokerages recommend it. All the experts say, don't do any investing until you've traded in paper money. And it obviously makes sense on the surface, but also from an LOA perspective, it also makes sense for the very reason you're talking about. It takes all the pressure off.
Yeah.
When all the pressure is off, you don't worry about it. Like, I just went broke. Who cares?
Yeah.
It's one of those things. And I've gone broke. I mean, using the various scripts I've written, I've gone broke numerous times so far. Mm-hmm. But I don't care because it's not real money. And I learn a lot. That's the other thing. I've been applying the Elon Musk philosophy. Fail early, fail often. In other words, how many mistakes can I risk going on here?
Robert Kiyosaki has always said, 9 out of 10 businesses fail. But if you're prepared to try 10 businesses.
Same idea. Yeah.
You're going to win.
The beauty of the Musk philosophy is that's basically how he built SpaceX so quickly. Because he urged his engineers, don't worry about trying to get it all right the way NASA did. Just keep blowing things up. Keep screwing up over and over again because you'll learn so much from all the screw-ups.
Exactly.
Of course you do.
And he was right. Yeah. He was absolutely right. That's why the SpaceX is doing so well. That's why they're so far ahead of all the other private companies right now.
I was at Rotary and I was saying to the lady that I don't have much time for formal education. She said, why? It's like, okay, how long have you got? But that is one of the main reasons is they don't teach you the importance of negativity or failure.
Yeah.
It's absolutely key. It's vital. It's important, and it's the best thing you can do because it helps you expand and understand.
But you learn so much.
Move forward and learn so much. And, whatever you want to do, there's millions of words you can use. But, you remember I often say that I don't worry about emotional conflict anymore because, if you lose, you just learn. It doesn't matter anymore. There's none of that worrying about that anymore. It all goes. The law of attraction has taught me so much. You have no idea. It's absolutely brilliant.
Well, I think the three of us here all have some idea, but yes, we take.
No, well, do you have no idea?
You have nothing. Oh, it's funny. It is true though, and I'm having more and more appreciation for the beauty and the value of failure going through this because, well, also you learn where you have your own little resistance points along the way too, because I remember the first time that I lost all the money, even though it was all fake money. I said, it's all, how could what did I do wrong? That's where you start with, but if you can get past that, and that's really a big deal right there, just getting past that, letting go of all that junk that you can attach like that. Once you let go of that and allow yourself to go look at the data, because that's the trick. I mean, not only are you using live data to test against, but you're also, if you're doing it properly, you're also recording stuff from your own program. You know, the program tried to do this and thought it was going to get this result, but it got that result instead. And you're logging all this information. And then if you go through your log and see what it's telling you, you can learn from it. So in this case, step one is try anything and fail. Step two is get over yourself. And then step three is look at the log and see what you can learn from it. The other thing and this is where I was thinking, where I was talking earlier about how, you really get very fast interaction, law of attraction type interaction when you do this kind of investing. When you're writing the program and you test it out and it doesn't work out the way you want it to, and assuming you get past the point where you say, oh, why didn't it work out? And you're actually investigating. One of the things I think everyone has the tendency to want to do is to hedge the bet, to try to find some way to soften it, to protect yourself and so forth. And that turns out to be where you get in the most trouble. I tried a lot of them. I tried standard strategies. I created my own and so forth. I've tried a number of strategies. And every time I tried to mitigate potential loss, it always led to loss. Every time. It wasn't until I experimented with just, okay, let's let it ride. The only thing that I'll do is I'll put in a stop loss, and I put that out far out, so hopefully we won't come anywhere near that. I put in a take profit number 2, and then let's just see how often it hits the take profit and how often it hits the stop loss. And when I did that, I started getting good results. It was really interesting. Basically, I stopped focusing on loss and I ended up getting gain.
It's nice when you can start proving the law of attraction to yourself.
Yeah. And not just proving it,
it does actually work this
over
way.
And over. Yes.
Over and over again. Yeah.
Consistently. Over and you do it quickly over time. I think there's something to the quickness of it. You try it, you fail, you try it, you fail, you try, and you did it all in like 10 minutes, Getting that kind of quick feedback over and over and over again. I mean, it's work. Don't get me wrong, because I'm learning a programming language I didn't know, and that takes time, and it takes a lot of frustration, because half the time you say, well, let's see, was it the programming language, or was it what I coded, or what was it? Why did it fail? I don't know why it failed. So you have to kind of get past that part. But yeah, you can really get fast feedback that shows you just how in tune you are with your objective. So I thought I'd share that just to see what you thought.
Yeah, no, it's great. I wanted to tell you about a story in Austria because it was my birthday, and some of my friends, Austrian friends, came along, and this one, I can't call her a lady or a girl. It's kind of in between.
Young lady, that always works.
And she had hurt her tendons in her foot. And, she was really worried about how long it'll take her to get up and running again and all the rest of it. So I said to her, why don't you just sit down, I'll do some Jinshin on you. And, in German, they call it Strömen, which is streaming, streaming the energy. So, I started to do some Strömen on you. So I'm holding her there, and she's just like, well, what is this? How does it work? I said, well, let me tell you the story about, when I had the appendicitis in hospital and, all the different things about energy. And I said, when I started energy, it was when I was 22 years old, and I went in this energy course, and they said, you know everything about energy by the end of the weekend. And end of the weekend came and I knew nothing, and I was totally pissed off with the guy and all the rest of it. And I was as confused as when I walked into the class, and, it took me years and years to find Donna Eden, and then I started trying some of her tapping and all the rest of it, and it started working a little bit for me. And, many, many years later, somebody said, well, if you want to take Donna Eden stuff a little bit further, try Jinshin. And then I got this nursing thing for Jinshin, and I held my foot, which had 2 warts in it, for 2 years. And one of them, I cut about doctor, and it grew straight back. I held it for half an hour every day for a week, and they vanished. These 2 warts in my feet completely vanished, and my athlete's foot cleared up as well. And, And I started to paint a picture how it was a journey of while I was holding her foot the whole time. And, cause when I held her ankles initially, I said, this is the place where you hold to remove the pain. And, I said, and as soon as I touched it, she was like yelping and moving her leg and all the rest of it. And I said, okay, I'll just hold it gently. And then by the time I was finished this, I said, how does this feel now? And I was like squeezing it. And she's like, oh, I can't feel anything.
Wow.
This is amazing. And, and then I said, well, if you hold it yourself, you can speed up your healing process, et cetera, et cetera. And, when I had my skiing accident, they were there as well, these three girls. And, I said to them, I made a mistake then because I sat and chatted to you for a couple of hours before I went and did some jinshin on my own foot. And because of that delay between the incident and me working on it, I landed up taking much longer to heal. And I know that. I proved that so often to myself. So, I was giving her more and more examples of how it affected me in my life. And, I asked her the other day, are you doing some strummen on your foot? And she said, yes, I was watching some YouTube videos and I've been trying.
Nice.
But I said to her, Ken, it's a long journey to start learning that you have some kind of an energy that you can affect, and then, you start telling people that I went through quite a long phase of thinking that I was cheating, that I could do what nobody else could do. And now I just accept it as the norm, but there was this long period where I felt like I'm cheating, How can I do all these things that other people can't? So yeah, I just really wanted to point out to a lot of people, or anybody who's listening, that, understanding this non-physical part of you is a journey.
It is.
And some people it comes quicker than others and all the rest of it. So, and they will say to you, you're an old soul, and comments like that.
I've never figured out what an old soul is. Everybody seems to be one that I've ever met, so I'm not quite sure. But
so you know what I said to somebody when they said to me, I'm an old soul? Well, I said to them, I just said to them, no, I'm not an old soul. I just learn quickly. I had to laugh at that. It just came out of my mouth, and I was like thinking about what the hell I said. So egotistical. But it's really interesting how different people grasp the non-physical quicker than others. And it is the way it is.
Yeah, the reason I never understood the whole thing about an old soul is that old is a time-related thing. And my understanding, limited as it is, about the non-physical, or even that isn't particularly accurate according to the stream. So how about that which is not part of the human in the universe experience? We'll try it that way. But anything on the other side, that's another way to say it, on the other side. Anything on the other side is all energy, right? And it has no sense of time because time is a human construct. So if we are all part of source energy, and when we arrived here, we arrived from the realm of source energy where there's no time, how can there be such a thing as an old soul?
No, absolutely. I mean, when you start understanding the concept of now, everything's in the now.
Yeah.
Everything that's in the past was thoughts that you thought yesterday or the day before or the day before or the day before. And, the thoughts about where you want to be, your dreams and your visions of where you want to be, are just thoughts in the now. Thoughts of the past are just thoughts in the now, which are bringing more into the present. So, there is nothing but the present. When you really get that, it's just a matter of, okay, so there is no time, there is no past life. And then Abraham Hicks's comment about what a past life actually is becomes very, very clear. It's something that's really made a lot of sense to me. Is very simply you tuning into a vibration of what was. I can tune into Hitler, I can tune into Mother Teresa, or I could tune into the Ark or Noah, or I can tune into whatever, and you draw that vibration or that previous strong vibration into the present, and you can tune into it like a radio, just tuning into that vibration. And, then you start looking at past life in a very different way. And, it's the one that's made the most sense in my life.
Does that actually clarify anything for you, Anne-Marie?
Yeah, that's an interesting way of thinking. And because I always, when people go and do like past life regression, and there's so many Cleopatras out there, I could never get my head around that.
Exactly.
So that just makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah. And that's actually what Abraham Hicks said. That's why there's so many Hitlers. That's why there's so many Abrams.
Really?
Not Abraham Hickses. That's why there's so many Cleopatras. That's why there's so many. There's not that many King Louis XVI, but, that was mine.
It reminds me of one of the Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan movies from the 1990s. I don't remember which one it was, but at one point they're talking about past lives and past life regression and so forth. And Meg Ryan's character, talks about it for a second and says, don't you believe in that? And Tom Hanks' character says, well, why is it that everybody always, has a regression to Cleopatra? Nobody ever has a regression to Joe Blow. And Meg Ryan's character says, it doesn't work that way.
Who's Joe Blow?
Oh, well, I guess it's all what you believe. That's really what's the most important thing. Something else that's been going on, too, that listeners will be interested in. I had a guest on about, I'm going to say 10 days ago. Yeah, about 10 days ago, named Janet Schmidt. And she is an NLP coach, and she does a whole bunch of energetic type stuff. And I was so intrigued by the conversation I had with her that day that I did something I never do, or almost never do. I said to her in the after show, as we're talking after, I said, I'd like to actually hire you and do a session with you. And she says, okay. And, so we started working out the details and we ended up doing the session this past Friday. And my goal was to just, I have a number of financially related blocks that I have never completely gotten out of the way. I've made a lot of progress with them. Certainly when I was in the Taya boot camp, I made a lot of progress, but some of them I keep hanging on to them for some reason. So I said, well, why don't we work on those? And so I did the session with her. Really interesting session. Really, really interesting. First of all, we did it as a remote session. So it was a Zoom session, right? Mm-hmm. Zoom conversation. And she's describing to me step by step what she's doing every step along the way, right? So at one point she says, okay, so I'm going to do this, and this, and then I need your permission to do that. I said, yep, I give my permission. She says, okay, and then what I'll do next is I'll do this and this, and then I will basically send my essence to you, and it'll join your essence, and then we'll do this, and this after that. And then we actually got down to doing it, and she's describing step by step, okay, now we do this. And then when she got to the point where she says, now I'm going to send my essence to you, it was like, whoa, I got hit by a wall of energy.
Really?
I was like, whoa, what was that? It was a shock. I mean, we're not talking like this little tiny bit of energy. It was like, boom, got like, like having water thrown in your face or something like that. It was really something. So anyway, we continued the session, and very interesting session. She has a number of these modalities that she combines together. She's also very intuitive. It turns out she's also a channeler, although she didn't mention that when she was on the program as a guest. And she combines them all together in this really interesting way, basically to get me to a point where I was, with her coaching, in physically releasing stuff. And I could feel the stuff inside of me. I could feel it just, kind of like this knot, like this mental / emotional / physical knot inside. And as we're working through it, I had this mantra I was repeating, and she was working with me, and I could just feel it ebbing away. Really interesting experience. So I'm not sure what's going to come out of it. It's only happened, this past Friday, so I'm still digesting it. She gave me what she calls balances, which are basically affirmations to record, and I recorded them. And I actually use the Italian music in the background, so I kind of combine the two together. And so playing with that for a while, so we'll see what happens there. But really interesting experience. I mean, I don't know what experiences you guys have had with people who are energy workers or light workers, as they're often called. But have you ever had that experience where somebody is going to interact with you and they say, okay, I'm going to interact right now physically, and all of a sudden you feel it like that?
So, from a Jinshin perspective, the answer is very much definitely yes.
Okay.
But it's more from a perspective of what I've done to myself. And if you wanted to give a definition to what you were experiencing, I always go back to Abraham Hicks's, which is relief and release.
Right.
And, what you were describing there is just so on point with what happens when you work with Jinshin and your solar plexus opens and this opens and that area opens and this one opens, and suddenly, one day I was working on my spine and had this of energy up my spine, and I had like 20-30% more energy than I've had in the past, and it stayed with me forever. I've never lost it. So I've still got that extra level of energy that I got by working on my spine once,
Wow.
And, there's so many relief and releases with Jinshin. And it starts becoming the norm. And as you work more with energy, you get more and more of them. I mean, you become incredibly aware of when you become tense. You're like, oh, my eye's tense over here. I can feel it. I know it
Yeah.
is, and I know how far it goes and how deep it goes. And I know what to do with it. And I just palm my eye, or do I do something? Or I hold another area altogether, and suddenly that whole area just goes, and that relief and release kicks in. And, just this holiday, I was doing a lot of work on a certain area of my spine. And, you just feel as everything releases. And then the next day it comes back again, but it's less than it was. And then you work on it again and again. Because it's an active vibration in your body, they tend to want to come back. Okay. And when you work on them with energy, then they tend to release. But you've got this level of control over your body, or over the ability to get relief and release that you wouldn't have had until you've played with all this stuff. I don't really know how to explain it all.
I love the sound effect, by the way. That was a great sound effect.
But that's exactly how it kind of feels. It's literally going from some blockage into vapor and into nothing.
It's a good descriptor. I like it. Have you had anything like that, Anne-Marie? Have you had any experiences like that?
The only thing that I've really done is Reiki, and I loved it. But like my first session, I just felt all the energy, and my heels of my feet just felt like they were on fire. The girl also do it. Yeah, the girl also
with
was
Reiki,
also doing
not
it.
necessarily Jinshin.
Yeah, but when she was doing it, she felt that same thing as well. But I literally felt also, I was like Tigger beforehand. I was like bouncing around, couldn't really focus on anything, just go from this to that. And I felt so grounded. And just from that energy work, just changing that whole flow to just being able to focus, being able to ground, and just clearing. It was really good. But I am trying, because I'm somebody who's had like very negative relationship with their body over the years. So I'm really trying to listen to my body. This last week or so has just been spending time, and every morning when I wake up, just shut my eyes and I just talk to my body, and I go through different parts of it, and I'm finding that so helpful, just getting in tune with myself.
Love it.
So Anne-Marie, what you're doing there, from my perspective, is you using your body as an excuse to learn to focus on one thing for greater or longer periods of time. What happens after 14 seconds of focusing on one thing, says Abraham Hicks, is you amplify the vibration of what it is.
Yeah.
So, just focusing on your body is so advantageous, because your body's always there. You can always do it. So what you're doing is you're now bringing that awareness in, and it's an increased level of focus on one thing. And if you want to achieve any significant goals in your life, you need to learn to spend time focusing on one thing. One of the biggest disadvantages our school system's got, which I'm going back to where I was talking about earlier, why I don't like our education system, is you go to a maths class, then you got an English class, then you got a biology class, then you go to this class, and you go to that class, and you got PE, and then you got a break, and then you got this. And so your focus is gone from one thing to another, to another, to another, to another, and we haven't been learning. Just do maths for a year. Let's do it a week.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do maths for a week, all day, every day. Let's really get into it and suck the juice and the marrow out of it. Let's
Yeah,
and
that's where it's intensive.
You start learning. Yeah. You start learning that, getting that focus, and in life you start realizing what Abram says, when you focus more on what you want, isn't what you don't want. But it's that focus on what you want that starts drawing everything to you, So it's just getting that laser focus of what you want. And it's not a big deal after a while, because, what you don't want is perfect, because it just helps you know better what you do want. So there's no real problem about any of it. And you just start going and you're flowing from one thing to another, to another, to another. I mean, the stream we were walking down, we walked to this beautiful, you've seen those photos, on my Facebook. You've got this beautiful lake up in the Austrian Alps, and it's in the middle of nowhere. We had to drive for 2 hours and pay 40 quid on a bus to get there, per person. It's like the middle of nowhere, and everybody's on an electric bike there. Everybody.
Yeah.
There's just thousands of these electric bikes all the way up in the Alps in the middle of nowhere. And I'm thinking it's illegal in the UK. Oh my God. Never mind. I'll try to get over that as quickly as possible.
That's a good idea, considering you really don't want that vibration. So yeah.
Exactly. So what you do from the lake is you start walking back down the road where the bus brought you up, along a river. And literally you're crossing this river, walking in, and you're drinking this fresh water from this beautiful, crystal clear water. It's right out of the ground. And I'm squatting down there with my hand, drinking like this. There's a picture on Facebook of me doing that. And, you really, you're just walking along there, and I just let the kids walk ahead, and I just absorbed everything, and I just opened myself up to the energy of the area.
Right.
Let me just enjoy this, because it's so pure and powerful, and simple and basic. And I just loved it. It was just so cool. When you have a look at the pictures, it's just...
You have to see that.
Sounds amazing.
And that is the beauty of any place, especially a getaway place like that, is the energy of it. And the energy is always different, no matter what place you're at. But if you can take the time to get to know that energy and recognize it and kind of immerse yourself in it, boy, I don't know of anything that relaxes you faster than that. That's probably my wife will tell you a good meal, and I understand her viewpoint, because she loves going out to dinner, but man, just being in the energy of a place that I hadn't been to before and just absorbing it, that does more to relax me than anything else I can think of on holiday.
I have a bit of a challenge with this whole meal thing that Louise really enjoys. And, it's rare, unless you're really in that high vibration yourself and you carry it into the restaurant, that you get this chef that's in love and it's just passionate about his food, preparing it for you at that right moment, right time, and the right preparation of all the materials that comes in with the right vibe, and prepares it and puts it in your plate. It happens more often at home with my wife. I get these amazing meals that just come out of the garden or whatever, but going out, I just often am disappointed with the experience. And, my stomach is painful the next day or in the evening, and my poo stinks to high heavens. And, all I did was go out for a nice meal, and it's just like, I don't want to do this anymore,
Well, you touched on Louise's reason. Her reason is she didn't have to prepare it. She loves that part.
Exactly. That was
the moment
exactly what I was
with
going to
that
say.
viewpoint, you start with that viewpoint. It almost doesn't even matter. It does, but it almost doesn't really matter if the meal's any good. I mean, it does
McDonald's
matter.
it is. Let's go, guys.
No, it's not McDonald's. We aim for a little bit higher than that. But nevertheless, just being out, even if the meal turns out to be not a good meal, she still feels good about it because she didn't have to prepare anything. And so in that sense, that's how she does get into that vibrational space that you were talking about, where you're feeling good right from the beginning.
It's kind of born out what you don't want. I don't want to prepare food. So, and then you need to turn that corner of, oh, isn't it great that somebody else is preparing it? And you need to get yourself out of the one and into the other. And you don't even have to do that. You can just get into that passion yourself at home and just cook yourself an amazing meal.
We did that on Friday. My little one wanted to make pizzas, so she made the dough. I made the pasta sauce. We did it together. They tasted incredible. But because they're made, and it's like I always say to the kids, it's because they're made out of love.
That's true.
I always say the secret ingredients is love. You know?
It really is. Yeah. And I need to acknowledge.
And what is
Sandra,
love? If you, sorry,
Sandra's in the live stream. She says, "Love listening to you three, my favorite people."
Oh, we love you too, Sandra.
We can't.
Come on the show live with us.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Sandra is one heck of a manifester, by the way. I just got to mention. She's incredible.
Yeah. The Power of 8 group is great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're looking forward to getting that going again in September. No doubt about that.
Yeah. But, you know, it's a journey. And the biggest thing I learned from Abraham Hicks is, one, greater clarity about focusing on what you want, less what you don't want. 2 is the emotional guidance system. And 3, what really vibration is in a human. And if you put those all together, you really get clarity for what the heck I'm doing here at the moment. And I still think, you know, if I say to somebody, you know, Anne-Marie, I asked you the other day, what is your belief? How would you say it now? And if you keep on refining what you believe, how you believe it, what you believe, how you believe it, how you understand life works for you now, and it could be different to what it was yesterday. What do you believe? What do you believe? How do you believe it? What do you believe? How do you believe it? And then it just gets clearer and clearer, and then just everything starts falling into place, you know. And you know, my truth's not going to be your truth, and everybody's slightly different. But, you know, the fundamental for me is definitely the law of attraction. And there's a lot of other things. I mean, there's so much more than the law of attraction. The law of attraction is just one part of it, but, you know, it is a very important part. I think if somebody gets the basics of that down, then so many other things can just become clear to me. But, yeah.
It's kind of a gateway, isn't it?
It is.
It opens up a whole bunch of possibilities that weren't there before just because you understand that one fundamental idea.
You know, I mean, I've heard a lot of things about the law of attraction before Abraham Hicks, but I really have to give that 200 entities, non-physical entities, credit for the clarification, you know. Mm-hmm. I really have so much respect. And, you know, yeah, it took me a couple of thousand videos to get it. You know what I did. I went through thousands of them, but once you've got it, it's yours. It's not theirs anymore. It's not Abraham Hicks's anymore. It's mine. I've got it. And, you know, once you're carrying it around in life and you're flying with the clarity of life, it's brilliant, you know. I just got a fine for speeding. It's like, what did I do? In all the 27 years in the UK, I've never got a fine, ever. And I've always speeding. And now suddenly I get one. I'm like, what was I doing? But, you know, these things happen. And you can just say, pay it and move on, you know, where's the problem, you know? It's just get moving forward. But I could get really hung up on what that was all about. I have no idea.
Well, I think it's easy to, because we all ask that question, don't we? How did I attract that?
Mm. And you don't really need to know because you can't really work it out all the time, and often you never.
Sometimes you can.
Sometimes you can. You're absolutely right. But this one, it leaves me stone cold. I've been thinking for many, many years, how did I never get a fine? How did I never get a fine? Now I think it's just catching up to me. Fine. This is not fine anymore. So, you kind of see how it works. You kind of see in the background how you drew it yourself. But, to me, it's more of a mystery how I never got one. That mystery, I focused on it so much, I managed to manifest one. So, it's just okay.
I don't consider that to be a mystery. I consider that to be a marvel.
Yeah. It was interesting because when I was in South Africa, I got hundreds of fines. My boss at the time just paid them all because, he had loads of fines. I had fines. His wife had fines. He just lumped them all together and got the company to pay for them all. I went around to the magistrate and just took him a huge bunch of cash and just paid for them all. And when I came over here, I never had a fine. It was like, what happened between South Africa and here? Something significantly changed.
Well, obviously, you were in a better space from an LOA perspective. Vibrationally,
Yeah.
you were just in a better space.
Yeah. And, a lot of things happened for me in South Africa where I could never get a girlfriend. Nobody loved me. Everybody hated me. I'm going to eat some worms kind of thing. But when I came over here, nobody knew my history. I had a clean slate. I could do what I want. I could be who I want. And I rode that one. I rode that big time.
Well, what you're really saying is you let go of the old one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, the woman came flying. I still had a beard and they were still coming. And then when I shaved it off, even more of them came. But it was like, wow, what changed? And it is just really quite shocking for me because I really, really would love a girlfriend in South Africa for my first 27 years. It's now 27 years in South Africa, and I've been 27 years now in the UK this year. And it's kind of like everything's turning for me now. Now that I turned 55 on the 31st of July. Everything seems to be changing, and I came back and I got a fine, and everything's changing, for the first time in 27 years, I've got a fine, and I've just got the car, and there's been, trying to get the export tariff working so that I get paid for the electricity I'm sending from my solar panels into the grid. I've been fighting for 3 months solid, and suddenly when I get back, it's all sorted. And it's like, wow, there's so many things that have just changed for me since I hit that 55. And it's just really interesting for me and exciting because I can see, Rotary's just made me head of the environmental and the men in sheds. There's so many projects which I want to build there now that are really interesting things that I've started. I was sitting in Austria working out that I wanted to build, but I'll explain to them once I got them built.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
And some of them are energetically based or things for the body. And yeah, it's just, there's a lot of things that are just changing at the moment, and you kind of got to go with the flow, This is now a new era of vibration again. There was nothing I could do from 50 to 55. It's like my whole life just ground to a halt, and I had to sit on that same level, and then suddenly, bang, I'm just feeling all the changes coming now. It's quite exciting. Yeah, it's quite exciting.
That's fabulous.
Feel a lot of things are happening now, and I've got to go with it. I've got to roll with the punches. But, if you could do it, if you could ride with all these punches and the different things that are going to come when your life starts changing and moving fast, because there are what they call in the spiritual world, they call them rest points in eternity, when you go through certain phases of your life where you're given enough time to solidify the previous changes into something solid and concrete. And then you go through all these things that shake you into whole pieces. And then you go through rest points in eternity, which give you time to solidify your learning. And it's kind of a nice way of words to use as rest points in eternity. I kind of like But it is something that actually is the way it happens. There are these long, stable periods where sometimes you feel, I really don't want any more of this. I really need to change. And then you get these changes that just throw you left, right, and center. But if you've got that strong core, that strong belief, that strong understanding who you are, where you're going, how you think your life or life for you works, then it's really easier to navigate the storm in so much more ways than you'd expect.
To me, the interesting part is when you navigate the storm, if you have been doing the work, so to speak, if you've been getting used to how all this stuff works and coming to terms with it and accepting it and even appreciating it, it's amazing how storms stop being storms, if you know what I mean.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
If you're in the eye of the storm, there is a storm, but there isn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where the contrast, really, you live the contrast. You're in the middle of it.
And then learning in the midst of all of that, the true value of what that contrast is telling you, what information it's imparting upon you, so that you can be much more clear, much more selective about what it is you want to choose. Which kind of experience do you want? Every time that you're handed a situation by that world of contrast, it's an opportunity. Which direction do you want to go? Which one do you prefer? And then depending on your choice, that's what you get more of. I think that's the part that I continue to marvel at it every single time that I'm reminded of it, that it comes back once again into my life to experience over and over and over again. All the times that it keeps happening, I don't stop marveling at it. Every single time, it's like, wow, this is really amazing. Wow, this is really amazing. Wow, this is really amazing. Over and over and over and over and over again. It's really something.
There's this excitement that happens, but it's not like the excitement of the youth. I don't know if you can call it this weird thing. It's kind of like a mature excitement.
Sure.
Where, you
It's
can
like when
stay
things click.
calm, even though everything's going mad around you, and when you're young, you're just flying out with it and you're buzzing and you're all over the place. But now it's different, but you kind of get what I'm saying.
It's like what you said, Anne-Marie. That's when things click, right?
Yeah, it just feels like the pieces of the jigsaw are going back in together. Yeah. It's all just it's all working out.
I think when you're younger, you don't really notice the clicks. It's later on as you start getting to know yourself and getting to experience stuff and so forth, you notice the clicks a whole lot more. And then they become cool.
Yeah.
And then they become repetitive. And then they become new and exciting. And then they become the next thing. One
but they
click
never
at
stop
a time.
baffling you. They never stop being exciting, do they?
No, they never do.
It just gets more exciting.
Yeah.
Because I've been working through this whole post-nasal drip, which is why I clear my throat quite often. And I've had it for so many years now, but now I feel that I've got another piece of the puzzle that's clicked into place. And another piece. And at the moment, another piece has just popped in recently, and I'm so excited about it. These active vibrations in your body, they're really strong, and they just keep going and going and going, and you always got the cancer, or you always got this, or you get rid of the cancer and it comes back again. These active vibrations. But as you start peeling away the layers, it starts making sense. Oh, that happens because that happens because that happens because that happens because you did that. And then, the pieces of the puzzle start falling in. So I'm literally started at the end, post-nasal, then what did I get next? I started realizing how the post-nasal was affecting my tongue, being yellow and all the rest of it. And I started realizing that the lymphatic system is linked to the post-nasal. And then I started clearing the lymphatic system. And I realized that I was blocked here quite a lot at one stage. And I realized that was backed up because this area here needed to be unlocked. And then as I unlocked that, and you started realizing it goes down your arm as well. And you start feeling how you're moving it down and down and down. And then there's a Jinshin flow at the moment that I'm using for mucus, which is my next level of working with it, which is, not as physical as the other ones that I've worked with, but now I'm working more with the energy side of the mucus aspect, which I could have done right in the beginning, but it was just kind of the way it had to be. I had to go from this one to this one to this one to this one.
You had to work through it.
And, you know, there's some things, you know, I've always wanted to get my eyes 20/20 and I've, you know, improved it by more than half, but that last section is just, there's something so fundamental. I know it's just inside me. I could, in the blink of an eyelid, if I get it, my eyesight will be 20/20. And I know it's just sitting there and I'm that close, but I haven't got there and I've been that close for so long.
It teases you.
It is, you know, and this is the way it works, you know, and once you start fixing one thing and then another and another, you start believing in the power that you can do it. You know?
That's true.
And that's where a lot of people are stuck. They don't know, understand, or believe that they can change these things in themselves. And that it's a journey, that there is the step to that step to that step to that step.
Yeah.
And as the clarity comes filtering out through you over time. But, yeah. As everybody says, all the gurus and everybody says, you know, enjoy the journey, and it's really, it's true. Enjoy the journey because it's a never ending thing.
Well, I've been enjoying this part of the journey, I have to say, just because we
me
normally have a guest, and today we didn't have a guest. It was a throwback actually to the way we were doing things before we were doing regular guests. So I appreciate that. So I want to thank you guys very much for what was a really interesting and fun conversation today. It was excellent.
Yes.
And, we'll do guests for a while now, and that will continue for quite some time, but it's nice when these little opportunities pop up like this. So thank you very much. And thank you to our podcast listeners as well, and to everyone who's listening in the live stream. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.
Take care, everyone.